All right, let's just get right to it. Is PHP dead? I mean, you've seen this question everywhere, right? It's been popping up in developer forums for years now. So in this explainer, we're going to give it a proper 2025 reality check. We're going to dig into what the community is actually saying about it. And just so you know, this video overview comes straight from the INEX Team YouTube channel. So let's dive in.
I'm willing to bet this sounds familiar. I mean, think about it. I have heard for 20 years that PHP will be dead soon. 20 years. For 2 decades, people have been predicting the death of PHP, and yet, here we are. It's this story that just refuses to die. And today, we're going to try and figure out, why is that?
Okay, so that brings us to section 1, the undying debate. This really is a question that's been around for decades, and it just won't die.
For a lot of developers who are deep in the trenches, this whole conversation feels kind of old. Like, all that narrative that PHP is dead is so early 2010s, it should remain there. It feels like a relic from a totally different time on the internet. And they've got a point. The story today is way more complicated and, honestly, a lot more interesting.
Which leads us right into section 2, PHP's role on the web. Look, before we can even talk about its future, we've got to understand where it fits in right now. Like, what does it actually do? Okay, so let's break down how the web works. Real simple. You've got 2 main parts. First, there's the client side. That's everything you see and interact with in your browser. The visuals from HTML, the styling from CSS, the interactivity from JavaScript. But then, there's the server side. Think of this as the engine room, or the brains of the operation. This is where languages like PHP, Python, or Go do all the heavy lifting before anything even gets sent to your screen. So yeah, PHP is a server-side language. That's its whole job. It's doing all that crucial work behind the curtain. Think about it for a second. When you log into a website, that's probably PHP checking your password. When you see a personalized "Welcome back, John," that's PHP pulling your name from a database. It's handling user authentication, saving files, sending confirmation emails. It even builds the custom HTML page specifically for you before it ever reaches your browser. You never see the PHP code itself because its work is already done by the time the page loads.
And this brings us to what might be the most important part of this whole discussion. Section 3, not your dad's PHP. Honestly, this is the real core of the debate, because the PHP that got that bad reputation, it's just not the same language we have today. It has completely evolved from what some called the Wild West of coding into a legitimate, modern powerhouse.
And seriously, the difference is like night and day. In one corner, you've got the old stereotype, this messy, tangled, all-in-one file kind of code. A lot of that reputation, fairly or not, came from the early days of WordPress. But in the other corner, you have modern PHP. We're talking PHP 8 and newer. This world is all about powerful, elegant frameworks like Laravel and Symfony, which are built on clean, component-based architectures. It's a totally different ballgame.
So what changed? Well, one of the biggest drivers behind this whole transformation was something called PSRs, or PHP Standards Recommendations. Before PSRs, everyone was kind of doing their own thing. It was messy. But these standards created a common playbook. They set rules for everything, from coding style to how classes should be loaded. Suddenly, different components from different developers could just work together, right out of the box. It was a total game changer that helped professionalize the entire PHP world.
And when you look at the modern PHP toolkit, wow, it's packed with professional-grade stuff. You have Composer, which makes managing all your project's dependencies a breeze. No more headaches there. You've got auto-loading to keep your code organized and clean. There's even a built-in performance booster called Zend OP Cache that makes things faster right away. And of course, full-blown support for object-oriented programming, design patterns, and solid testing frameworks. It's pretty clear, this is not a beginner's toy anymore.
All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Performance. How fast is it, really? Well, with modern versions like PHP 8 and up, it's actually gotten surprisingly fast. For the kinds of things you do on the web, it's measurably faster than other popular interpreted languages like Python or Ruby. Now, let's be real. Is it the fastest thing on the planet? No, you're not going to beat compiled languages like Go or C#. They're in a different weight class. But for what it is, PHP is a really, really strong performer.
But raw speed isn't the whole story, and this quote from a developer really nails it. They're basically saying, let's see who finishes the project first. They've challenged teams using other superstar languages, and they say that nobody has been able to deliver a finished project faster. Why? Because of the framework and ecosystem and pragmatism of PHP/Laravel development. It's not just about how fast the code runs, it's about how fast you can build something solid, tested, and ready to go. And in that race, the PHP ecosystem is incredibly hard to beat.
Okay, that brings us to the final section. Section 4, the 2025 verdict. So, after everything we've talked about, should you actually use PHP today?
So let's just ask the question straight up. Is it actually a good idea to switch to PHP or maybe learn it for the first time in 2025? If you're out there looking for a new skill, is this the one?
Well, if we look at the job market, it's a bit of a mixed bag. So let's be honest about it. On the plus side, there are a ton of stable, mid-level jobs out there. The ecosystem is super mature, the frameworks like Laravel and Symfony are amazing, and it's not terribly hard to get started. But there are cons. That old WordPress stigma, it definitely still hangs around. You're probably not going to see as many of those crazy high-end salaries as you might with Go, and let's face it, PHP isn't always seen as the hip and cool new thing.
But this next point might be the most important piece of advice in this entire explainer. A developer put it perfectly. Once you learn the concepts of programming, the language you use isn't so important. And that's so true. Once you really get the fundamentals, things like object-oriented principles, good design patterns, how data flows, the language itself just becomes a tool. It's just syntax. Those core skills, you can take them
So, let's circle all the way back. Is PHP dead? You know, after looking at all this, it's pretty obvious that's just the wrong question to be asking. The language has proven it can survive for decades by adapting, by maturing, and by building this incredible, world-class ecosystem around it. So the real question isn't whether the language is good or bad. The real question is for you. Are you using its modern, powerful side? Are you judging it based on what it is today or what it was 10 years ago? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.